whole, because he started the company based off MammaWise, right? I won't get too much into it, but we have like mind, and I just wanted to show him appreciation because the guy's been through the ringer. This is straight up trial by fire. I even told him, I'm like, look, it's so unfortunate that you merged at the height of the market, but you know, like I'm not fazed by this. Nothing is worrying me because I see what you're doing in the background, right? The silence, you know, the whole silence thing, I get it. This is the more your opponent knows, the worse it is
I'm
for
listening
you, right?
to the MM.
If you can work in the dark,
hey Darren, I'm listening to the MMAT call,
so
and it's very interesting.
I understand.
I'm not a speaker,
that
at least not yet.
Have, like, you know, you're not getting the updates constantly. You know,
hey, Walker Rats.
Everybody
ACC.
wants to know what's going on with the company,
Walker
but
Rats.
It like I said, you got to build that runway first.
Steve
and Mike, I know you're a big fan of the GlucoWise, buddy. I know I have good friends of mine who are diabetic, and I agree. You know,
you're not Czechoslovakian, are you?
It's one thing if they went for that first, and don't get me wrong, it's going to be
multi-billion-dollar
vertical. But if they went for that, right? You got to understand with like biopharma stocks, if they have a trial go bad, they just destroy the stock. So it's definitely something that I would, you know, like for them to have other things built in as a cushion.
You're welcome, Walker,
before they jump right into that. And there's more demand in the EV and energy sector. So, I mean, obviously we want all things to just happen like
German,
right away,
Russian.
but they have to do it strategically, right? Otherwise they won't succeed. So, you know, once again, I mean, at the front of the nest, very far right. If you haven't seen it,
I'm just having
at least bookmark it and watch it later. But Jack Harding, our current chair, gave a lecture in Athens, Greece in 2013, and is pretty much just like the ins and outs of what it means to be an entrepreneur. This is a good call on MMAT, as opposed to choosing like a regular 9 to 5. Yada yada yada. But
there's some smart people. Like, Curtis,
it's just gonna take time. That's it. Time, patience, dedication, commitment. And it's, you know,
a couple more people.
There's a lot to look forward to, and I believe that they're going to have at one point or another catalyst after catalyst after catalyst.
Lucky and I went on a long walk.
First.
Curtis, aren't they in trials with GlucoWise over in England?
I know, I should have told you.
Entered into trial phases. They actually did that.
I almost didn't turn it on, but I felt like.
But so
why
actually,
not?
Peter and I had probably an hour-long conversation with Ken, where he just spilled, which is really funny. Ken Rice, the CFO and COO of the company, he's like very protective of information, as he should be. But he gave a lot of really insightful info without giving anything too specific, and stated that it's the intention of the company to find a medical device partner. So think like a Medtronics or Boston Scientific. You know, there's so many. They're talking major companies, right? But it would obviously be somebody that is not progressed far on the non-invasive glucose monitoring. But it makes sense.
I realized how I should have answered that question.
With someone like that, because
when I was asked,
first of all, they're totally different.
Was that irresponsible?
Of a company,
I should have said, if you're my audience, it was. If you were my audience, it was irresponsible.
They could help shoulder some of that burden, and they would share in the margins and the proceeds from the
Matthew
once
Parker.
It actually clears FDA approvals, and the same thing on the European
I don't have to study it. I think the stock's going to go down Monday
as of January
and Tuesday.
To find that right partner, and it's got to be the right relationship.
And it might be in a lot of trouble.
Very pointed questions
in the short run.
To be too rude, because knowing that
but
they can
the
be answered,
battery technology they're talking about is incredible.
A couple that are not going to be partners, but
sorry about
I don't know. It's speculation with who would be, but it's something that they're definitely working on. It's just not going to be something that we see the results of near term. As George has
battery
said,
technology is huge.
is buy market cap when that flips.
But the poor,
on VOCL-wise. So they're trying to operate in the background, below sea level, not air out what they're doing on a regular basis. So we're going to see probably 1 or 2 updates a year until they're actually ready, and then it will ramp up tremendously. I think what you'll see in the time being is kind of like last year, like last May, where we see really good additional IP granted, where there's patents that they're granted for non-invasive glucose monitoring. Whether we see the product side of that, I think we're still 2 years out.
I would agree with you.
Mike, you had one question.
They just diluted it so much, though.
And this will be answered very specifically,
but I think it's okay,
with one of the parties here very soon from the DD team. I'm not going to spoil it. It's not my news to share. But there is smoking gun evidence of one of the largest shorters that originates all the way back to Torchlight.
Wow.
And they're one of the few have an open short position overseas in Metamaterials Inc. So that's what I'll say. So not only can I say that, yes, they absolutely, like, are there the same parties that were shorting Torchlight, or that were shorting MMTLP and are still shorting Metamaterials Inc.? Yes, definitively 100%. Can I say that there's 100% overlap? No, but is there obvious incentive and motive to do that? Yes.
Jenny, what I should have said to that woman
the stock charts
was, yes, if you were my audience,
correlated when you looked at it.
But, I was irresponsible.
Yeah, they're gonna. There's gonna be some stuff that's aired out on that. I would assume maybe even this weekend. So it's fresh. But anyway.
Well, Steve, I think after listening,
it's like a who's who of the bad actors, unfortunately. And
Steve, I think you have no choice.
Spoken about it, but yeah, these companies
but to buy more
from
because you've been diluted here
into the ground, stealing their IP.
Having said that,
or just literally profiteering off of running them into the ground,
filament or whatever's in the battery,
never having a tax implication. It's really just the crappiest thing to think about.
You're going to make a lot of money.
Companies that advance technology and humanity forward and move us to a better place, that are getting driven into the ground and never get to reap the benefits, or society never benefits their creations, their inventions. It's like the crappiest scenario that you could possibly
describe. I think it could go to 8 next on Monday, Tuesday.
American
they're going to sell more because they're going to
was
deliver
propped up
money
as a means of building great companies.
and say
So
they
it's,
raised it.
It's unfortunate, but it's a reality that we're dealing with, and that's what we're trying to fight back against. So
This guy's good.
Thank you, Curtis. Let's go to Nate. Nate, thank you for patiently waiting. You have the mic.
Here's Nate.
Hey, how's it going, my guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can. Good.
Yep.
Awesome. So first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for hosting this space tonight. I do get excited when we start talking about MMAT. And it sounds like everybody knows their shit when it comes to this. But
in 10 years, either I or my family will be stinking rich.
And what they got
57
going,
sounds.
But then when I look at the numbers, it gives me
like the
concern.
The nice age.
In regards to, like, Mark, you say that
this right here is, sorry, Don, is MMAT. Let me show it to you.
They don't necessarily have to build 10 runways, because the way I'm thinking of it, Rome fell because it expanded too quickly and it couldn't protect its borders, and I'm kind of just seeing that right now, and it's just like, when you talk about the tech and when they have these, when they have investor relation meetings, I get excited and kind of reassures me a little bit.
Hey, KYP, missed you.
When I look at the numbers, it kind of just...
You've been missing in action.
Because, back in January 1st of 2021, they had 154 million outstanding shares, and now they got 467 million. But they also,
KYP.
that's not including, if I'm reading correctly, it's not including $92 million, which includes...
I don't know how to do this in front of you.
Incentive plan and the outstanding warrants and the 2021 plan.
Don't forget MMAX.
And don't mistake a share of float size with the companies. Look, I get it.
This
I do
MMAT
understand, but
is really,
you have to look at companies like Apple.
one, it's been abused,
right? You have to,
and two, it's a good story. And I'm starting to like this guy, George.
Not all companies are successful because they have a small float. It just means there's more demand. There's a lot of people that want to invest in the company. They have to issue shares and raise money to do what they want to do. Real quick, as far as the runway thing goes, I'm not asking them to build 7 runways.
I don't have as many shares of MMTLP because I really, literally was in it late.
Once they get the airplanes lined
this
up on that runway,
woman on this call,
and they're ready to take off, then they'll start looking at building the other runways. But in the meantime,
I think
the
only
thing I was
possible
about,
time
like
I even recommended looking at the stock
that's like building the foundation
was
of
the last day or two that it was trading.
You have to get the concrete down.
Otherwise, anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like, I guess my issue.
I'm a little worried after listening to this other call. What's going to happen to MMTLP?
Into building a house, I mean, you got to make sure there's enough money to build that house, you know. So you were looking at Q1 sales. They're talking about they got about 1.4 to 1.5 million. That's estimated, but their losses are 22 to 24. So that, I mean, we've all talked about the burn rate. They need to rate
the burn rate.
And I guess my problem is, you know, they got this 80. You know, you said they're not going to want to, you know, dilute the shares and do an offering at $1 when they could do it at $5. But then we fast forward a couple months. And now we're doing it 30 cents, and it's 80.
Matthew Parker, unintentionally,
you know, so
what you're doing is dollar cost averaging, and I think it's smart.
But I mean, I
really think GTII has certain advantages.
54, and now we're at 467.
This beautiful company here, MMAT, they're getting screwed.
Totally understand. But let me just put
a
few things into perspective. You took an oil and gas ticker that was known to be heavily short, with tied to assets of 134,000 acres in the Permian Basin, largest onshore discovery in over 30 years.
That's Marduk talking.
They knew the problem. They shorted it so much because of the pandemic that they needed to get it. It was their only chance to get it off the market. The 180 flip into a future blue chip was like just a galactic bear trap of unknown proportions. Me personally, you want to know my honest opinion? Mm-hmm. If we're sitting here and we're doing, and Gandalf did the math on it, the guy's an actuary, he was like, this is like statistically ridiculous. If this is bigger than SBF, like FTX, SVB, and Bernie Madoff combined, who's to say that it was solely this whole merger and the problem with MMTLP that the height of the market was in 2021? Why weren't they raising interest rates all the time during 2021? You can't see
comments until I refresh.
Why was it only once the market turned?
Did I do something
right
wrong?
Right after the merger in
Let
June
me
of
see.
2021.
Where do
it was
I have to do all messages?
MMTLP started trading. If you look at Meta's chart, and you can see that it was about to break to a new high. It then once MMTLP started trading, it was like the whole market collapsed.
How do I fix that?
Ironically enough, over the entire year,
I'm having
MMTLP was the safest thing you could put your money in. It trickled between $2 and $1.25, while the rest of the market just shit in the bed.
It's working, Matthew.
So,
good.
Shout out to Torchlight OG for bringing that up, because I'm like, that's actually a really valid point. And honestly, I think this whole situation, I think they dumped the market to drive Meta. Which, you know, you've got to look at it like 2001.com bubble.
Because I didn't eat.
Right? Jeff Bezos said
peanut butter toast sounds good.
Not at the Bezos
Not on your
one,
end? All right, let me see what else I can do,
I got a clip
KYP.
here lined up of George in 2022 saying specifically that you're investing in not the fundamentals of the company right now because we're not there yet. But
let me see what I can do.
He makes mention that 2023, tail end of 2023 and into 2024 is when we're looking to start becoming profitable, having contracts coming in, right? So I think it's a matter of they're doing what they can, I'm looking from a perspective of, yeah, they've got cash burn, their profit margin is shit, but what are they doing with that money? What kind of debt are they taking on with you know what I mean? They're spending their money in the right places.
I can't fix
right?
it.
I do have
to make sure they can meet their milestones. I just want to put it. It's literally. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So you remember when back in the last investor relations, Metamaterials was like saying, well, we want to move away from dilution. We want to do some government fundings. We're going to get rid of this.
The dilution is disappointing, but if they meet their next milestones, it's livable.
Some debt
and particularly if you add to your position.
Some debt on your books is healthy because of the tax write-off. And when I don't see Meta doing that, and I just see them diluting it, it boggles my mind. So, I mean,
yeah, but year over year,
it's crazy.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But
Ryan,
you look at all the metrics.
I walked my
People
dog.
are too focused on
the
share, the float size, the outstanding
but
share
this
size.
Is an important update on MMAT, which I think sounds like a company
so laser focused
to
on
bottom fish in.
Net loss, right? It's like you're not taking into consideration what they're spending that money on.
Can I support you here because I've got it sitting in front of me, Marty?
Sorry, one sec.
I was just saying, if I could support you here for a second, I've got it sitting in front of me. So
yeah, I'm saying go ahead, man.
They went from total revenue 2021 from $4 million to total revenue 2022 of $10.2 million. Gross profit rose from $3.4 million to $7.163 million.
What is it?
So
on
you're
the chat
doubling
bar,
revenue and profit
there should be a symbol next to the
almost
scissors.
Tripling revenue, doubling profit. Their operating expenses also increased in a similar way from 41 million to 90 million. So I will highlight that, but a lot of that has gone into research and development. A lot of that has gone into general and administrative because they've brought on a lot of key personnel that have multiple patents under their name. Amazing doctors within their field, people that have been in exemplary positions within Google, within some of these other data and research, within LG, within some amazing people, and you're not going to get those people without spending a little bit of money.
I don't think it sounds like it's a good one, Robert.
Revenue, and also they had
on the other hand, what I'm trying to understand is if they're getting all the money at once on Tuesday,
and this is
if they get 25 million, maybe it'll be survivable.
Example revenue and what they currently had available, but they did just sign a multi-million-dollar agreement for the currency. They've got their NanoWeb rollout coming. They've got the NPOR with the battery tech. We're going to see some more cash burn as they go into some of these FDA
I can't go fix it now, can I,
as we go into some of the ManoWise and the MRI technology. We're going to see some cash burn there.
This up,
but we are entering into
common sense ground show.
And so the amazing thing is, if you're looking at
they're talking about MMAT right now
and increasing their revenue from 4 million to 10.2 million, well, that's not a big leap then to say that they could go from 10 to 20, especially
apparently
when they
part of the reason for this raise is to replace
I was looking at their facilities and what they own as far as
that MMTLP would have paid them back
and properties that are underneath their management.
If FINRA hadn't stopped
trading. So they have 8 different properties.
It's all tied in.
They own the biggest one, the 105,000 square foot facility that's in Quebec. They own that one. Their other property that they just built at 68,000 square feet, that lease extends to 2031. The other property that's there in
might
Athens,
be my last meal.
Lease extends to
None
2031.
Of us knows.
So there's some really, really neat things.
Which meal is our last?
They've got cash on the books. They've hired the talent. They've built the facility. They've outfitted the facility.
You
and they've
sold
got
your
all
fund?
Of the key people.
Wow.
This is literally now. They fund it with the.
Pretty cool.
They give themselves a little bit more ramp.
You didn't like your trip to
Dubai? While production goes out.
Or Abu Dhabi?
All of their technologies are high demand, and all of these contracts have been waiting for the production. Now is when we get to experience the revenue.
All right, I'll stop eating.
Curtis, you ready to go?
No, that's fantastic point, Huck, and yeah, I mean, you have to scale up to this point. It's been scale for
I know,
the last
Lion.
year.
I have to do it. I should have done it right now.
January
Jenny
of 2022
told me how to do it. I have to do it on YouTube.
Scale of that,
and I should have done it just now.
For
I didn't realize that.
And that's going to be a smaller application.
I have tried several times to unban, and I just get lost. I don't figure out how to do
into
it.
production
but
mode.
I will.
So I know, Nate. It feels in the moment like okay, and you're right. Ken did mention as part of the Q3 earnings, there
That's
has been
amazing.
an allusion to government
That's good
funding.
for you, Robert.
You did talk about putting some actual long-term debt onto the books, and obviously it wasn't done. Again, I will point back to they're not using all.
Oh, you sent me a link.
Even a majority of the shelf offering that they put.
I'm not going to turn it off now to do it.
Using $25 million.
But when we hang up, I'll do it. I'll do it
what should have been
before I go to bed.
Back to them from loan to Nextbridge
I know Matt
Hydrocarbons. So
did. So did Jenny.
And Huck just said it. There was $11.8
to you,
million
it all seems
as
easy.
of December 31st that was already available. And they raised another $25 million, minus expenses, $23 million. So,
well, Jenny, they were talking about.
I said this last night that
just how massive
what they absolutely need to. It seems like, and I would definitely take some offering dilution over a reverse split.
Click
any
on my
day of
picture.
The week. That's just my opinion, though.
There is no picture.
Yeah, but I just got one more thing, and then I'll let somebody else talk. But I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. The only thing that just gets me with that at the moment.
Matt, I have a feeling you would do that.
In shares, right? So they had 100 million shares.
$250 million.
I have a feeling you would do that.
Yeah, $250 million.
That's even worse. So that's actually bad to do an
No, that's great. That's great because
that's why you've been successful in life,
right? They can do it at whatever time. There's a lot of cool things that happen with an at the market offering, right? They can do it at any time.
At the market offering, they're going to drive the stock down.
The shorts aren't going to, as easily be able to know when it is or where, you know what I mean, and how much. And like I said, I mean, they've barely tapped into it.
Picture
I think
of Lucy.
they're putting it out there so that they have the option should they need to raise capital. But at the very same time, they're trying to avoid it at all costs. And should things have played out by now the way they should have,
can I roll this up?
They wouldn't have to dilute at this level. And so I remain cautiously optimistic that they're trying to.
If I roll this up, does it disconnect
you guys? The market
guys?
makers and these hedge funds that did this to us and are pummeling our shares into the ground.
I had a GTI.
That's why I didn't spend money on calls today. I bought shares because honestly, that's how you Ham said it time and time again. Accumulation is what kills them. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not selling
Marduk's right.
They can kiss my ass.
I like this Marduk
As
guy.
far as I'm concerned, we're going to hit an inflection point where the revenues are going to start coming in.
He's
and there's
right about
nothing they can do to stop it.
He's right about that.
I just hope that we can get the sales going before we continue, and do another 25.
I don't have enough for a month.
Shares at 50 cents or 40 cents. So I mean, I'm not trying to be negative, I know the tech's great.
I don't have enough for a month.
I guess I get a little nervous. It's like
which is bad. I know that's bad.
They see it through because they got all these patents.
I know that's bad.
They got the technology. They got the stuff.
You know what? I think about diversification. I think about the fact that that's exactly what MMAT is. MMAT is a single security that is an ETF within itself, which is it's an index fund within itself. Because they apply to so many different sectors, they can have buffers when certain sectors are not doing well.
Can I,
like me personally, long term,
roll up from Prism Live and go to YouTube without disconnecting everything? I think I have to wait to do this.
Let's see. as far as I'm concerned, man, with the volume I saw today, I see all kinds of
huge volume today.
Support, whether it's retail or institutional within the company. And so, like Jeff Bezos said, you know, the company's not the stock and the stock is not the company. When Amazon tumbled from 113 back down to 6, everything in the background was improving. Everything within the company was improving. So, you know,
it's on YouTube, so I'm concerned if I go to YouTube, I'm going to disconnect everybody.
Man, I've seen enough
so what I'll do
in the
is
2 years
just do it after we're done.
To like, I know, dude. Like, I know how a dark pool works now. I understand how they batch orders and they slam it through, and if they want to like knock it down in the morning, they'll just be like, oh, we'll bring the volatility up in pre-market, and we'll hit it with a bunch of topping wicks, and people will just get scared out the gate when we dump like 10,000 counterfeits, right? And then everybody just sells, and they let all the sell volume from retail hit the lit exchange, and it's like down, and then they can just cover it, like, you know, and slowly too. They just walk it down. So none of this chart shit, like, even like phases me. You know what I mean? It's like if you respect the.
That's all I have to say about that.
Successful, but like it's all fake, dude. What matters is what the company's doing in the background. Period. And that's what I'm focused on, because that's what they're doing. Right? You wanna burn the shorts? Well, focus on making your company successful. Instead of like going on social media all the time telling your enemies what you're doing at every single moment, and like shaking your fist being like, oh, I'm gonna get you naked short sellers. Like, no, just ignore that shit. Go make your business successful, and then you can stick it to them after.
He's not quite right about that, but he's not wrong either.
Okay.
Let's go.
I love you, bro.
I agree. Let's go. Suzanne, you have the mic.
Hey, Lucky.
I was trying to unmute it. Marduk, you really are passionate about Meta. I never heard you talk that much in all the time that I've been listening. But
this is Susan.
A Meta addict as well. And what I want is, Curtis, could you touch on the 911? Because I really don't have that much information on it. Is it on the website?
Yeah, so you're not going to see a lot on that yet, and I wish we'd see some more on that too. I think we're going to see an update this summer. At least that's the wink and the nod that I've gotten through the grapevine, is we might hear something in the summer.
Curtis, I saw an article about it, you know, like how they want to improve the 911, but I didn't see anything about Meta. And I know that you know
that might be true, Matt, but I think the biggest thing would be to reduce our commuting.
You know, because I'm like at a loss to find, you know, the information that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm worried that a drone strike might happen to my house if I speak too much on it. I'm half kidding. I'm only half kidding, but what Susan's talking about
improves
is the
as you
Vlepsis technology, which is very cool stuff that originates really from the late now Dr. Giannis Antoniadis, John Antoniadis. Fortunately, he passed earlier this year. Really, really sad to hear that. He's one of my favorite. I didn't have the fortunate opportunity of meeting him, but messaged with him, and he's you could feel his passion. And,
my eyesight tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, so the technology that he really helped birth at BAE, which is just a defense.
I don't know.
Giant,
maybe I just got
international
tired.
Defense giant was called Argus, and think of it as
that's it, Matt. As long as you get along with each other.
That allowed multiple cell phone cameras overlaid together.
I think it's the answer
to create a very high resolution image for a drone that would basically be flying around a metro area at 18,000 feet and could see objects clearly and track them as small as.
Are you getting anything out of this call? I might hang up on it.
And that technology has progressed. It was previously 1.8 billion pixels, 1.8 gigapixels. And now the latest version of that, and again, this has not even been PR'd yet, but the latest version of this is 3.8 billion pixels, or 3.8 gigapixels. So you can just imagine what the capabilities are today.
They haven't asked me to speak.
What Susan's talking about is there was a PR. I'd have to pull open the.
And after all, it's all about me. So, yeah, I would think working together at home, you need a little. But yeah, Robert, what I'm hearing on this offering doesn't give me comfort. I think it's well, anyway, I better study it before I comment too much, but I think it's a difficult situation. I'll give you the positives. It sounds like they're getting all their money. It sounds like. I got to check that. So then they're going to be able to build out whatever they need to build out. They have the state-of-the-art battery separator, or whatever the heck. It's like a thing that allows the energy to communicate inside the battery. Anyway, the net effect is it prevents, or nearly prevents, fires of these rare earth materials in batteries. And the demand is enormous. So if they can get cash flow positive on that, all of a sudden you don't have to issue more stock and you're out of trouble. But I'm not hearing all of that. I have to study it. I was listening for it. But once they got into the question part, it stopped being informative to me. I'm in MMLTP, but what's the reason? Do I need a reason? The reason was there was a space call at 10 o'clock for MMAT, and my last call my last live ended at like 9:45 in sort of an unsatisfactory way. So I came back listening to the MMAT call. I said, well, I can just start it again and you guys could listen with me. But it got less informative once I put it on for you guys to hear. Okay. Wow. MMAT will be $135 a share. Hey, Pecos Bill. I went on that call and I listened to you, and you're the reason I went on, just so you know. I didn't realize what firestorm I was stepping into. I should have answered that question to Julie, that, you know, if I had known you were my audience, I would have stated things differently. But anyway, I thought you did a great job, Pecos Bill, when you, I think you were defending Roller Pigeon Bird Lady, but you did it in a way that was much more diplomatic, that just don't speak ill of anyone that's not here to defend themselves. So anyway, I would have loved to have a conversation with you on that call. But it wasn't meant to be. Thank you, Jenny. You're the best. Pecos Bill did a great job. Yeah, welcome to your world. I can see why you were being careful with how you were answering questions. Oh my gosh. is that youth of today? I've been thinking, once I got off the call, because I had to walk my dog, I was just thinking of how I should have handled that differently. But I was also just thinking, is there critical thinking anymore? I don't know. Picos Bill, I on MMTLP, I don't think I ever went out of my way to recommend buying it. I think on the last day of trading, or it might have been the second to last day of trading, I was talking about it, and I was getting myself kind of interested in it. So I bought shares at the wrong price. So some people might have followed me to buy the shares on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame. But afterwards, all of my information and all of my calculations, it was a dead stock anyway. So anyway, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like bad-mouthing people at all, except the criminals in these short situations. He is a gentleman, Picos Bill. You all can learn a lot from him. I don't have to learn anything. No, I can learn a lot from Picos Bill. What was really interesting is he put up in the Nest, it's called the Nest, he put up these pictures, and I think, see Picos Bill? Anyway, he put up these What's hard for me is Picos Bill understands it, and I kind of don't. This doesn't show the Ora Grande. See, this shows the Delaware Basin here, the Central Basin platform. And then this is all somewhere should be the Permian. But I don't see the Ora Grande here, which is interesting. So let me go to one of his other pictures. Wow, there's a lot of production there. I don't know what that red line is. Near El Paso, I don't know. Okay, here. This must be it. I'm guessing. I'll let Bill correct me. But this must be the Ora Grande here. I'm guessing. $80 miles west from that trough. Okay. So the geologist Matterson, who discovered this side, he's the reason this play is going in the Ora Grande. I wish I think I got to change this, get a different computer. It would be great, Picos Bill, to have you so you could talk and I could just ask a couple of questions, and all of a sudden people would be learning more than they ever wanted to know about the Ora Grande. Oh, it's in New Mexico as well? I didn't know that. That shows my lack of understanding of Texas. Texas is big. Texas is big. Anyway, it was a really interesting call, and I enjoyed listening to you, Pecos Bill, but I missed probably about, I'm going to guess, about 5 minutes of what you were saying, maybe 7. So I would have enjoyed asking a few questions. But I touched a nerve with that one person somehow, and I didn't mean to. I tried to be diplomatic. So anyway, let's talk about something. I don't really have anything. Your family has gas and oil in Carlsbad. There used to be a gas station down here called Carlsbad, New Mexico. Well, there's Jennifer could easily host a call for us, Pecos Bill. That's a great idea. Yeah, they're touchy is a word. You know what I heard afterward is when I mentioned John Berta, that was probably the wrong thing for me to do. Well, I'm not going to speak ill about John Berta at all. So, well, Derek, one of the reasons I turned this on was as I was walking my dog, I was listening to MMAT. And as a company, a couple things stood out. It sounds like George, the brain behind it, is good. I've never met him, never spoken to him. Secondly, this battery technology, apparently there's some competitors, but they are state of the art. I can't give you the language. It's like a filament or something that allows the heat and the electricity or whatever to pass through. But it solves the problem, or nearly solves the problem, of batteries overheating and combusting. And the demand for this is huge. Apparently the demand outstrips the capacity, not of MMTLP, just all of them, MMAT. So my reaction is at some point they're going to have revenue which will outstrip the shorts, and it will mean that they do not need to go to the markets for financing. The two things that concerned me on the call, it sounds like MMTLP borrowed, I didn't know this, Nextbridge borrowed almost $25 million from MMAT, and had FINRA not stopped trading, that money would have been repaid to MMAT. Part of the reason for this financing is to replace that money. I got a little confused as I was listening. It sounded like they're only getting $1 million up front, but then another guy said they're getting the entire $25 million next week. I have to look that up. If they're only getting part of it, it's really a dastardly deal. One guy said they haven't reported earnings yet because the earnings could surprise the bears. The volume on MMAT, 73 million or something today, was massive. My negative side of me says that what the criminals are doing is shorting the stock today. They'll do it on Monday. Then they're going to give that cash to the company, collect a fee, and they feel like they've done their job. So I guess I'd summarize it by saying I got really excited listening to it about the company. And maybe there's a chance to buy the stock inexpensively. The risk is the financing. It's like buying a beautiful house and taking out the wrong mortgage. Well, I think you'll have more of a chance to average down on Monday, but I think that's the right way to do it, Derek. They've diluted by 50%, an additional 50%. So I think it's smart if you like the company to add to your position. Yeah, 223 now to 23, no good. Well, Tastrip, one of the things is they really need to, just to go forward, they need to raise the money. You'll never know, but maybe the next time they raise money, it's at much more favorable terms. Or if their cash flow gets strong enough, they can start buying back shares. Obviously, those two ideas are down the road. But I think I am persuaded they had to raise this money. My question is if it's all in the control of the shorts. One of the guys on the call said that the IR guy told him, we're never going to issue any more no warrants. Next day they issued warrants. So I don't know. I have to do. I like the company. I need to study what the financing is by the prospectus. I have to get a better understanding of the cross obligations, if any, between NextBridge and MMAT. And there was a big to-do made about if MMTLP's problem gets resolved, that will help MMAT. I'd like to figure out why that's the case. I think the risk in the company is they drive the stock price down so much that it can't recover. And it doesn't matter if it's a good company. I mean, these criminals have killed brilliant companies before. And so you can get, and it's happened to me, and maybe I'll do a video on it. And it's happened with oil and gas companies too. You just get so diluted, it doesn't matter. My thoughts, big show, Jennifer for vice president. Oh, let me read that. So Tastrup 43 says MMAT is strongly on the way to bankruptcy as there is no money in the coffers. Well, my understanding, which I have to clarify, is this offering that's going to be finalized on Tuesday is almost $25 million. What I'm not clear about is if it's being paid all at once or if it's stretched out. I have to look at that. But it would seem like that would put money in their coffers. No, Lion, I don't know. You use the stock BBBIG, MMAT, BBBY. I think in all three of them, and that's the problem. I don't know. I don't have any access to data that you don't. I don't have any edge. But I think the shorts will try to drive all of them down, 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 down. Unfortunately. I'm not talking about normal shorts. I'm talking about criminals. What's the difference between senior vice president of marketing and vice president of marketing? Does that mean there's two vice presidents of marketing? Because if there is, they better get along. I haven't looked at the recent news in big. I haven't, Lion. I was basing my reaction to what I heard, I don't know, a month or so ago. So I haven't really. Well, Pico's Bill, who was I speaking with? Somebody, a CEO, told me, no, it was a gentleman that used to work high up on the American Stock Exchange. He said, unless you're fully funded as a company, you should not be public on the over-the-counter market. Isn't that something to say? So Pico's Bill says it seems that small companies should concentrate on private equity and just service the debt until they have stronger fundamentals before an IPO. The predatory shorting comes in, and that's what I'm worried about with MMAT. The predatory shorting comes in when they have, Bill, for example, and I don't think this is the case in the Oro Grande, but just for example, if the publicly traded Torchlight, when it was being shorted, if they had drilled a well that discovered, 10 billion barrels of oil, and it was flowing like it does in or used to in Saudi Arabia years ago. If that kind of event happened, that dramatically works against the naked shorts. So what they do is, if they can put in place warrants and these contracts that allow them to have a call on stock, they can hedge against that risk, and in the meantime just drive the companies into oblivion. I don't believe that, by the way. I don't. That's not my understanding of the Oro Grande, that you could ever drill one well and suddenly eureka. So don't think that's what I meant. But it's just a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. For some reason, they think that they have a right to just strip equity out of company after company. When I was listening to the MAT, this is a good company, and they're being destroyed. Torchlight, I thought, was a good company as an idea. It was. It's all you can ask for. A large acreage position, a theory, and the team to go see if the theory works. That's all you can ask for. But they crushed Torchlight. It's just sickening. Do I have stocks in MMAT? Get out? Really? Well, I don't know TAS Strupp enough about it to give advice on MMAT, but I do think the stock's going to go lower on Monday and maybe Tuesday. They have large partners. Well, Greg, they didn't talk about that on the call, but one thing that seemed really important is that this MMTLP situation is hanging over them, and I'm not quite sure why. Did I see what you wrote, Jennifer? No. Where did you write it? Did you write it on the call? The Bro Show. The Bro Show? Anyway, so I like MMAT, and I think there might be an opportunity. I just have to study the financing. And it doesn't mean I'm that smart at it. But I'm just going to look to see if there's traps in it, which I have a feeling there are. But there might be a chance to buy it inexpensively. I don't know what Lion of All Trades is asking me, and I don't know what Jennifer's... Did you text it to me, Jennifer? Jenny sent me something. All right, yeah, that's what I figured, yeah. Well, ordinary angler, as Marduk said on the call, he said that Ham always says, what's more important is accumulation than sort of a massive buyer coming in and running it up. Because these criminals can sell unlimited amount of stock that doesn't exist. So there's an investor in Puerto Rico that's in GTII and VOCL. I met him. He called it Hulk Slam, and he tried it, just come in and buying. Well, they absorb it, and then eventually the buying is done, and then they sell it back down. Accumulation, they can't manipulate, and they can't. Accumulation doesn't have those wide gaps, those wide swings, where they can come in and print money for themselves. So I'm not sure there's a number of buying that would cause the short squeeze in. I think you're talking about GTII, but even in MMAT. What will cause it is, I think, shorts covering, one or two of the shorts, and that is buying. But by doing it, they're no longer selling, and the stock price is going up. I think the accumulation, for example, in GTII has steadily increased the price. And at some point, they can't hold that back. But I don't think a Hulk slam of stock will do it. I do think broad buying that is sustained and maybe has a reason behind it can do it. I don't know if that's a good answer. Well, there you go, Jamie. I did hear that. Metamaterial benefits from MMTLP investors pouring their money back in. But gosh, I was listening to the call that Pecos Bill was on. I was starting to get a little bit depressed about the chances for MMTLP. They brought up some concerns, and there's clearly a school of thought that doesn't give much value to the assets. But that's what makes a market. I do know about Dutch auctions. I've never heard about how a Dutch auction would stop predatory short sellers. Let me think that through. I mean, I did recommend a reverse Dutch auction, I think even to John Berta or just somebody I was talking about the problem with, as a way, kind of a reverse, as a way to reduce the outstanding shares. But no, I can't think of why a Dutch auction would stop the short sellers. I'll have to think about that, Jennifer. They're always negative on the ROM spaces. Oh my God. They jumped all, well, I didn't get to finish. You know, I took responsibility and then I couldn't get to finish my point. She just, anyway, it's not worth reliving. And then I didn't, anyway, it's not worth reliving. Please do. I'd like to see the case. Yeah, yawning is contagious. Well, big show, or my eyesight late at night is failing me. Bro show. I heard there's 4.75 billion shares naked, as they say down in Texas, naked short. And it sounded like this, obviously the problem's been going on since Torchlight, but it sounded like part of the reason that MMTLP was even created and then allowed to exist was just in the spirit of kicking the can down the road, allowing the short position to go somewhere. So big fat Robert Cook, I'm sorry I called him fat, lard-ass Robert Cook collects his $3.2 million and doesn't have to do anything about it. And goofy Gary Gensler collects his salary and doesn't have to do anything about it. So part of this whole problem is the regulators just kicking the can down the road. I wanted to say on both the call that Bill Pecos was on and on this call, MMAT, to me the solution's really very simple. Enforce the rules. One regulator somewhere enforce a rule. Just enforce a rule. Don't have it go through the courts. Don't have it get destroyed in the marketplaces. No laissez-faire. Enforce a rule. Put one person in jail. This stuff will end all over. None of these guys have dirt under their fingernails. None of them have fallen off a ladder in their life. Do you think they want to go into prison or jail? It is their job. A naked short. I guess I gotta leave these goofy glasses on because I can't read. I will start a video tomorrow on retail investors to do something like you did on a protest. Rough, rugged, and raw. All right, so you're going to do Mr. Back to the Future. Well, it's better than other things I've been called rough. I will start a video tomorrow on retail investors to do something like you did on okay. I mean, I'll help if I can. I don't know if I can, but that's what you got to do, and I think you'd be good at it. The reason I'm saying that, I see your picture, there's a computer behind it, so you obviously know what you're doing with technology. Technology is really rapidly improving. Even an idiot like me can do some of this stuff. Yeah, we're live. So rough, gosh, how do I say it? Rough, rugged, and raw. Rough, rugged, and... All right, I'll just leave that. All right, Steve, good night. Naked. See, Pecos Bill knows. That's how they say it down there. Naked. Yeah, anyway, someday I'd like to hear Pecos Bill. Jimmy Cotta, my name. Did Jimmy die? What happened? Don't tell me he died. I would be saddened. The best place to get tomorrow's news today is the Daily Mail. But it's turned into such a crap paper. Can you imagine, just as a question to throw it out, this woman that went to Harvard and lives in an $8 million house in New York City made a decision to put a person of confused identity on the front. Well, not confused identity. Confused. I don't know what to say politely, but of an interesting sexual identity on the can of Bud Light, because she had a woke agenda to fulfill. She makes a lot of money, and in this world where the argument is women don't make as much as men, I mean, she's making a lot of money, but she cost Anheuser-Busch like $6 billion in a week. My question is, should she continue to make as much money as she makes? I tell you, if I made a boneheaded decision like that, I wouldn't get paid. This isn't right. Ron DeSantis is rushed by protesters in New Hampshire. That's not fair. I'm not a big fan of his, I don't think. Okay, U.S. scientists, remarkable new way to reverse Alzheimer's is discovered by U.S. scientists. So they should set up a company, and then the people at is it called out? What is that? Securities on the prospectus of MMAT. They should just short it to oblivion. Any good idea that raises money and gets investors, the criminals should just come in and protect us from ourselves. Oh my gosh. I heard Pico's Bill. He was describing how he handles his finances and risk reward and oil and gas. Listen to this, Bill. Think your finances are in bad shape? Young couple, I shouldn't laugh. Young couple, at least they're young. Young couple who had racked up, I don't know why they put the D in there, who racked up almost $1 million of debt goes viral after radio star Dave Ramsey posts TikTok clip of wife, 29, begging him for help. Debt is going to be the bane of a lot of people's existence. We never intended to divide. Remorseful Anheuser-Busch CEO finally breaks his silence after firm lost $6 billion from Bud Light's, quote, mistake partnership with blah blah Dylan Mulvaney. The $12 million a year registered Republican CEO of Anheuser-Busch, All-American Bud Light boss, 46. I'm a little bit jealous. And Iron Man, who broke silence on Dylan Mulvaney. It looks like his main thing going for him, he's a reasonably good-looking guy. Trump's bravado made the jury snicker. Test trial is secretly staged by rape accuser E. Jean Carroll's lawyers. See, this is the Daily Mail. It's not where all the news is not worth reading. That's interesting. Minneapolis. I would have thought it would have been Detroit. Minneapolis becomes the first major American city to allow broadcast of 5 Muslim calls to prayer per day, year-round. It's interesting. All right, so that's about all the news that I can find. Ex-president tells NRA conference crime is so bad that people... Well, I won't finish that at the attempt to keep things level. Samuel Alito temporarily halts restrictions on the morning after pill. Top Chinese scientist says true source of COVID may never be revealed because research into the origins of the virus has become too sensitive and politicized. Anyway, enough news from across the sea. I think he's been in office rough about 2 years. It's Biden appointed him. So 24 the money, what is a swing trade? Is that basically when the stock is down you buy and when it's up you sell? Is it when it's in a certain range? Because you can make a living like that, but I don't know specifically what a swing trade means. The president appoints him. We could go see Texas Bill for a few days, Jennifer, but the thing about you people, use people from New York, you don't realize how big Texas is. He didn't die. He didn't die. I was looking. I thought Jimmy Carter had died, but he didn't. Well, that's right, Greg. Donner, I really think that to invest in the United States securities markets it's the height of futility. Two days to get across Texas. My brother used to tell me that he lived in Houston. If you left Houston to drive to LA, when you got to the border of Texas, you were halfway there. Yeah, LGIQ, I think Crossbones, you're going to be happy that you bought more. No, take counsel. There's nothing I know of that's important happening today. We could go to Fort Worth. I just, the call I was on before, I left it kind of unsettled. Then I went to walk my dog and came on to the MMAT call. And I was really impressed by what I was hearing from two people, Marduk and a guy named Curtis. And there was one other guy I can't remember on the call talking about MMAT. And several other people, really well informed. And to me, the technology, the future, the contracts that could be possible for MMAT are pretty exciting. But the problem is the financing going to destroy the company? So anyway, when I came back here, I figured I'll start the call again because maybe other people would like to think about MMAT. It's 23 cents. It was over $2. It sounds like they're making enormous progress. They haven't released their earnings yet. And they have a massive short position. And the real key is this I don't know what to call it, this flagship product, but it's only one of many products they have, is this battery technology, and apparently theirs is state of the art, next generation, first generation, whatever. Well, how, the premier generation. And I can't explain it because I'm not a scientist, but what it solves is the problem, or almost solves is the problem, of electric batteries combusting. And the demand for this is huge. So it got my ears lit up. I'm thinking, wow, this is a company whose revenues, if they truly are at the point or close to the point, they can reach the milestone of contracts. And so I got more work to do on it. But if so, this is a stock, even though it just suffered a possible 50% dilution by this deal, this might be a stock to consider. I do think it's going to go down on Monday and maybe Tuesday because they're raising this money, and the criminals will short stock into the offering because they don't really want to do any work, and that's how they raise the money. And that's the risk in the story, is I hope the $25 million is enough money, and you shouldn't hope, you should know it. The $25 million is enough money for the company to achieve that next milestone, which should be becoming cash flow positive. Otherwise, all the investment is forfeit because the next round of financing will cram everybody down to nothing. So the real important issue is, will this $25 million be enough to allow MMAT to become cash flow positive? And I would suggest cash flow positive in a meaningful way before they need to raise any more money. And I don't know the answer to that. Well, Raymundo, we didn't talk about that. What is the expungement proposal? You're saying more false hope. To me, expungement proposal. To me, it doesn't sound good. But obviously, I'm misinterpreting what the proposal. Expungement proposal. I don't know what that proposal is, Raymundo. If you give me one more sentence, I could be off and running. Oh, thank you, Tay Council. Tell your wife I'm having a good night. I wish I had a Taco Bell Right now, I'd eat one. But tell her hello, and I hope you're doing well. It gapped down. Yeah, it was so much volume. They did 70 or 80 million shares today, and by my rough calculation, that raises $5 million for the criminals. Red Hook Texan, how are you? Quick question. Can we buy GTII to get more shares even after the dividend deadline? Well, yeah, you can buy more shares. You're not going to get the dividend. But there'll be other dividend distributions. They're going to keep distributing items until it works. Firings will continue until morale improves. Oh, man. Your husband is a tall person, Jenny. I don't know how where would he sleep? There you go, Ruff. I like that, Ruff. Ruff, that's exactly right. To me, the way to get to these people, to get to rich criminals, is take their money away. Okay. Yeah, we're still going. I don't know. Going nowhere fast. Okay, expungement. Let me see. It limits institutions from hiding criminal records. Supposedly, well, I don't know how I react to that. I think there are situations where people's criminal records maybe shouldn't be made public. But that's not my field of expertise. But I think people can make mistakes in life, and if they pay their debt to society, so to speak, and they've changed, maybe sometimes that arrest record shouldn't just hang on their neck like an albatross. I don't know. But if it's for companies, I'm all for it. Oh, on the floor. But you know how those seats in the airport have arms? I that's what I was having a hard time imagining, how he could do it. A sponge cake. All right, so I don't know what else to talk about. We can check the scores quickly, see how the Dodgers are doing. But I don't know what else to talk about. I can see if there's another space call. Otherwise, Rough McRuff, take a bite out of crime. See what the Dodgers did. Oh, well, they lost. And the Rockies lost. The Brewers won. All right, I don't know. It's 12:47. Maybe we'll quit it at 1 o'clock since I'm running out of topics. I'm all for going longer if you have a topic, but I'm a Nationals fan, Ruff, but actually I'm excited about this year because we have a bunch of young players, so I like that. But I'm a Nationals fan. But I'm in a rotisserie league that's National League, so that's... Well, William Buhar, I need to research more on this MMAT. The good thing when a company does an offering, a public company, all the information and data is there, like color TV, just like color TV. All the data is there in black and white. It's there. It's in the prospectus, so you got to read it. And I used to sit at my I used to underline and outline and write questions in every prospectus, every offering, get the analysts on the phone, ask questions. But that's how you learn. Chicago, I don't know what's going to happen in Chicago. The Pentagon leak suspect is a young guy, right? The LA Dodgers, yeah. You know, Wild Bill, I liked baseball the way it used to be, but I don't like the pitch timer that much because it's a disadvantage to some pitchers. I'm not sure I really like that after they throw over to first base twice, you can steal. I guess I'm just against all the changes, but for some reason they want to get the length of time of a baseball game down. That used to be, for me, a lot of the fun. But I will admit that I don't really watch a lot of baseball anymore because of time. What I used to do, and I'd like to do again, to me there's nothing better than listening to a baseball game while you're working or out in the yard on the radio. But I guess I'm kind of against it. We'll see how it works. A number of the aces in the National League, anyway, are off to a horrible start, and it might be because of that pitch clock. Yeah, I'm not a big fan yet. I like to go to the baseball game for the hot dogs. Well, why not? Hot dogs and beer and Cracker Jack. I am really online, Paul, but I don't know how much longer, Mr. Funston. I'm not sure how much longer because, yeah, I don't like it, Pico Spill. I also don't like I don't know. What's wrong? They've gotten it now down to 2 hours and 10 minutes or something. What's wrong with 2 hours and 30 minutes? What's wrong with 3 hours? That's why you go to the ballpark. Jenny, I was in London. I went years ago. I went to a Chelsea game at, Chelsea, at their stadium, whatever it's called. I can't remember right now, but right in Chelsea. And but I would, for some reason, had decided I didn't know much about Chelsea. I didn't know anything about English football. But the opponent was Arsenal, and I was following Arsenal. So I started cheering for Arsenal. Oh my God, that was a mistake, mate. If you want to get in trouble, mate, that's one thing to do. Yeah, I think they should leave it alone, Pecos Bill. And then once you start screwing with it, how do you measure statistics from one era to the other? I don't know. I think they should leave it alone myself. You're Canadian Rocky Mountains time. So you're in Canada. Wow. I've never been to... there's a ski resort up there called Bumf. a friend of mine went. That sounds exciting, but I don't think that's Rocky Mountains. I think it's on the other side, which Cascadia Mountains. I don't know for sure. ESK GTII is exciting right now. I think you have to be on alert. I think there were some precursors this week to possibly the final folding of the shorts coming soon, but it's reading tea leaves. I mean, we could be back here in a month and still saying the same thing, but you got to call it as you see it. Paul Kovalchik. Well, Paul, it's a good question. What should you do with MMTLP shares except register with Newbridge? Nextbridge, sorry. Yeah, it's asterisks on all stats. It bothers me, Pico's Bill. It bothers me because the steals are going to be up. The ERAs are going to be up. I don't know. It bothers me. Anyway, my favorite tennis player currently playing is Novak Djokovic. And he just lost. I think very highly of him. I think my favorite tennis player that no longer is playing is Jimmy Connors. And no Vax. Very clever. No Vax. Yeah, the rat. The year of the rat. Well, we'll somehow get together. If this thing works and my orders go off, I want to. I would like nothing better than go to all 4 Grand Slam tennis tournaments around the world, and maybe we can all meet up, or something else. We can go. I think save pop culture. I think the GTII chart was incredible today. Incredible. That was really nice action, and considering that they were trying to keep it down, it was great. Oh, what you should do with your MMTLP shares. If you understand oil and gas investments, a little bit anyway, and you're intrigued by oil and gas, I think it's a reasonable punt to see if you can transfer into the Nextbridge shares. I did hear a couple things on the call today, both calls, that gave me some pause. One is I'm a little concerned that Nextbridge owes money to MMAT, and if they don't raise money, it really makes me worry. I didn't realize that. So that if they get into a cash flow problem and a financing problem, it doesn't matter how good the assets are. The financiers the assets will be separated from the company. And I don't know how big a risk that is. It's just something that came up. The other thing that concerned me a little bit is it's clear maybe not so clear, but it's possible that Nextbridge has not moved so far forward in its development of the field that it really can be claimed to be I don't think they have a plan to produce because they want to prove out as much as they can, but it's just something I have to look into. I had the impression that MMTLP had now all of these shallow locations, which was additive to the story from when I first heard about it. I had the impression that they have a lot of this oil and natural gas that they are able to produce based on either 10 or 15 wells that they've already drilled. It might be they've drilled 10 with 5 more to go. Anyway, it's just a couple of things, but those are all normal when you're developing a field. I think it's reasonably good bet to go into Nextbridge, but the risk is I don't think any one thing will condemn the project right away. But if you had a series of, I don't know, bad news, and if for some reason oil prices fell below the cost to produce the oil there, I don't know. It could. My point is, by going into Nextbridge, it may be a disappointing investment. On the other side, it could be a very exciting investment. I think the risk reward is attractive. I'm biased towards the necessity for investors to be in resource plays. And I'm talking about resource, not there's a subdivision of oil and gas fields that are called resource plays. I'm talking about stock plays that are in natural resources. I'm not optimistic that they're going to open it up for trading, but I'm a minority. I'm a real minority. I think they might do what I think Jennifer is saying, because I discussed this with, I think I discussed it with John Berto. What they might do is a kind of a reverse Dutch auction that maybe they put out, they go out to you all and say, we'll buy all of your stock at $20. I'm making up the number. $10. We'll buy all your stock at $10. They maybe 5% of you sell your stock. And they come back to their conference room, they lick their wounds. Only 5 people took our offer. All right, let's go out at $15. So you do it again. And then they come back to the conference room, balance all the books. Well, now we still have 78% left. Well, let's go out at $21. And that's what I when I talked to John Berta, that's what I remember anyway, recommend. Not so much a recommendation, it was what if, kind of a what if we did a reverse Dutch auction. Maybe it's out there now. That way, as the price went up, rather than coming out, the whole theory would be, rather than coming out at $50 or $100, they could get those people that were willing to come out at lower prices and then raise it up. Let me look at what Pico's Bill is saying. '85 to '90 was the golden age of tennis. Pete Sampras hitting aces. Well, Matt W., I think the volume was so high in MMAT today because the shorts I think, were selling as much as they could in order to fulfill the offering. But then that baits the question, who was buying? And I think possibly with the stock down, a lot of you all were buying. I also think there might be some good news. I would love to go to the French Open. I've never been. I'd love to go. Well, I like Federer and I like Nadal, but I saw Novak in Miami before anyone ever heard of him. And all right, Paul, I'll talk about these rats. Yeah, I like the chart. All right, let me yeah, share valuation of $2. Wow, Paul. All right, so Pecos Bill, 18 total wells, 3 used for water disposal. So I assume 3 were well, yeah, that's not enough information. But I guess you could say 3 were not commercial. But so it needs good pricing, good oil. So that probably means it's expensive. Long-term play. You did? Jenny L., you worked the Virginia Slims tennis tournament? Well, they talked about it on the call that one guy said they really expect a resolution on MMTLP soon. I don't know who it was talking. I didn't recognize him, and now I forgot the name. But he was really convinced that there's going to be action on MMTLP shortly. And then the expectation is people will come back in and buy MMAT. I played tennis in high school. I was the occasional number 6, usually the number 7 player. My brother was 5 or 6. Oh, that's it. 80. Yeah, I like Connors, McEnroe. I never liked Lendl. I liked Becker all right. I didn't really like Edinburgh. They're all right. Wielander. Borg I hated, but I like him now. But I hated him because he was always up against Connors. Navratilova, I have to say I never really liked. I liked Graf. Yeah, 3 dry wells. I was keeping my mouth shut. I didn't want to say that. But they turned them into disposal wells. That's fine. And that's science. When you're developing a field, even a dry hole is not wasted. It's science. It gives you data. You raced cars? I liked Chris Everett. All right. I liked Ivan Gulagong. Back then, well, I won't finish that sentence. But, yeah, I loved watching. And you know who was a great tennis player was Ili Nastase. I think that guy was the most natural tennis player out there. Amazing. But I liked Jimmy Connors. I guess partly because nobody else liked him. Well, Ruff, I like that to get the president to get our opinion. I liked Agassi with the bald Agassi. Wow. Jenny, you have a side to you. Yeah, I think, Ruff, I think you're exactly right. But it's hard to get anybody to understand the issue. Even people that are deep in the markets or are used to raising money don't believe the depth. The systemic nature of this criminality. Well, Paul, I haven't seen Carlos in person, but I've watched him play. He is brilliant. I'm a little bit annoyed. I'll tell you, you're going to be annoyed with me. This is how I see it. I think Novak Djokovic was unfairly defaulted at the U.S. Open, and Dominic Thiem won that Grand Slam. That was about 3 years ago. I think Djokovic would have won that. So that's one Grand Slam, in my judgment, he didn't get. Then there was the COVID year. 4 tournaments nobody got, but I think Djokovic had a shot at least at 3 of those, maybe all 4. It was in his prime. Then because everyone wanted to get rid of Trump, we had to go through this giant COVID thing. I don't know how to say it, but Novak decided not to take the shot. Let him in. They didn't let him into Australia. That was one. And then he couldn't play the U.S. Open. That's 2. So, all told, Novak Djokovic in his prime missed 7 Grand Slam opportunities. 7. He also would have remained number 1 in the world, and Carlos Alcaraz got to play the U.S. Open when Djokovic wasn't around. He got to play the Sunshine Double without Djokovic, and then Djokovic won Wimbledon last year, and because of Russia, he didn't get any points. So Alcaraz has been number 1 in the world for something like 21 years at age 19, and I think it's completely unfair. And I don't think Alcaraz... Well, it's debatable. I think Djokovic should have been able to play. But anyway, having said all that, Alcaraz is an amazing player. And I think he could break all the records. He's only 19. He's already, got 21 weeks at number 1? He's showing a little bit of injury creaking in there. I hope it's not like Nadal. But man, so young and so talented, incredible. But there's a lot of good young players in tennis right now. Sinner is great. I think Casper Ruud is great. I think the Czech guy, I'm forgetting his name right now. He went pretty high in Australia. I think he's good. I like Daniel Medvedev, and there's a lot of good players. It's going to be fun watching them. Djokovic. Wow, West Virginia. Yeah, CXAI had a nice 2 days. Just not for nothing comment. Logic is an AI company, so we'll see if that one can get going. Wow, you drove NASCAR. I think John Kerry, when he ran for president, said something like, "Whom amongst us doesn't love NASCAR?" Jimmy Connors was great. But Paul, I agree with you. Carlos is amazing. I'd like to see him in person. I think he's gonna dominate tennis. Be interesting. Anyway, let's see what time it is. I think maybe I might call it a night. Yeah, it's late night, but Levon sells cartoon balloons in town. I'm not sure they fix tennis match outcomes, but I do think they might fix the draws. Logic is LGIQ. Yeah, I think GTII next week could be quite dramatic. I on my call earlier, I put up from It's Still Me, Albie, who is really a hard-working guy, and his information is solid. I don't want to jinx it, but it's quite possible that the Trento Mines deal could be announced, and that would be amazing. Yeah, late night lounge with Bill, Blue Neon. Well, Jennifer, we could do a space call. We would have to, maybe we could get, if it's not polarizing, have Bill and John Bird on there too. Yes, Thomas Dubois. That's a great name, Dubois. Yeah, Lechica and Corda. Oh yeah, Corda. Corda is the one I'm talking about. Corda. He is really good. Hey, tennis is going to be a lot of fun. Good night. I hope everyone watch me. I'm about what's best in retail investors. Okay, we'll watch. Rough, I'll watch. Could be. Ham emphasizes, please don't use those rocket ships, because the rocket ships are what the apparently FINRA has determined is hyping a stock. That's why you pay Robert Cook $3 million a year. I really suggest you don't use the rocket ships anymore. Use a different symbol. But otherwise, I agree with your sentiments. What days are good? Anytime. I'm pretty much open. But match it up with. We don't want to compete with other people, or it doesn't matter. Yeah, the rocket ships are illegal. No, I'm not. I'm not worried. I don't think they would come after me. I'm worried that they might come after you. But I stopped using them. Because they, that's why you pay the big bucks to FINRA. Instead of solving what's really going on, they've decided that rocket ships are the threat to the markets. Lemons. Lemons is good. Ramiro, you're not illegal. You're welcome. Unbelievable, Ramiro. I don't know our country. We'll get a squeeze on that. All right, so guys, I'm running out of things to say. Items to talk about. You may wonder why I came on. Just so you know, I wasn't just turning it on. I wanted you to hear that MMAT call, and it had a lot of stuff on regarding MMTLP. It's just as soon as I put it on with you guys, it wasn't as interesting. So that's why I came on. Aubergine. I think you should have them next Friday, but call it the following Monday. They should be in your account. Yeah, I will. Mexicano. Oh, you are in Mexico, or are you here in the United States? If you're here, welcome. Let them squeeze on that football pizza and something other. All right, Romario, West Virginia, Paul, Jenny, Jennifer. Oh, you're in Chicago. Chicago. Where would you rather be, Chicago or Mexico? I can't imagine. I like Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities. I haven't been there much. But man, what you read in the news. All right, everybody. Yeah, have a good night. What a night. What a day. So the rat. I forgot to tell you about the rat. I'll quickly tell you about the rat. The good news this week on GTI, great price action. Absolutely fantastic turnaround in the stock. So all that was good. But Ham has spoken with somebody in Alpine, and this is what he came on and said on a space call, in Alpine, who is willing to testify and disclose all of the players who have been trading in this fraudulent way at Alpine. It's huge. And the way I read the tea leaves, he's going to be talking, or she is going to be talking to the FBI and etc. Monday. But I don't know more than that. But that's what the rat is. Cancun. Yeah, I'd like to be in Cancun. All right, everybody. Excuse me for cutting it off abruptly, but please thank you to everyone. And I think we're going to start having some wins. And next week will be better. It's springtime after all. And yes, have a peaceful night. And to everyone, peace, love, and happiness. It is good news. It really is good news. Has the potential to be earth-shattering. So anyway, we'll say good night, and more to be revealed. More to be revealed. Thank you, Darren, and everybody. Jenny, love rats. I love rats. Oh, God. Okay. That's great. All right, everybody. So, more to be revealed. Spokojnej noci. And catch you on the flip side. I know you came late. Well, sometimes that's best, I guess. All right. I'm sorry. I got to run. So, cheers. Buenas noches.